bit of the route's going to be a little bit odd, I imagine, because it goes from built up area to sort of quiet wooded area to built up area again. Especially once you get down into this part of town. So that goes all the way across like that, that goes all the way across like that. Connect, connect. Actually, let's take this back a little bit, shall we? Because what I really want to do is bop, 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 bop. Now connect. There we go. So yeah, I'm hoping at the moment I don't accidentally press the proverbial power button on my Xbox or my PC. On my Xbox, I don't really care right now. I hope I don't do it on my PC, because that would be so painful. When you get to this point of a video and then you screw up like that, it is so annoying. It's like times, I'm so glad that Windows Explorer has an undo feature, because the number of times I've accidentally deleted a video instead of renaming it. Too many times. I've been doing this for 5 years, guys. You wouldn't know it. The number of mistakes I make. That's why I don't like it when people point out my mistakes, because I know I make mistakes. I see them all the time. Even when I watch back videos and I just think, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. Trust me, I know. Right, I don't need this one for this. I'm pretty sure, apart from this little wooded area, pretty sure I can see where these stations need to go. And so far, bar a couple of little ones like here, it's all going well. So we are going to get some areas like this where there's going to be some tightly packed stations. But you know, this is the HLR. We always end up with stations like this. That's what I love about it. There's a fact. I think I've mentioned this one before in my videos as well. Shortest distance between two London Underground stations, Covent Garden and Leicester Square. And I never used to know how close Covent Garden was to Leicester Square until one day I was out in London with someone and they asked if we could walk between Leicester Square and Covent Garden, and I said, are you joking? That's miles away. And they looked at me like I was an idiot, because I was. And to prove it, I was in London recently with my brother. We went to Stratford, but on the way... Actually no, it was before that. We went to South Bank. We went to see an episode of QI being recorded, which was very nice. Big fan of QI. But we were on the Piccadilly line, and I said to him that fact because we were at Covent Garden and we were going to Leicester Square as the next stop. And I said, you know, do you know what the two shortest? Because I'm a nerd. I'm always talking about facts on the Underground whilst I'm on the Underground. So I said, did you know the shortest distance between two stations on the Underground is between Covent Garden and Leicester Square? And in the time that I was telling him that fact, we went from Covent Garden to Leicester Square. They really are that close together. It's a bit further when you walk it. It's one of these things, the London Underground stations aren't necessarily where the entrances and exits are. The walk can be quite long at times. I feel like there is a little bit of a con going on with the Underground. I've seen loads of videos as well to do with signs on the Underground and how they do con you sometimes. I think it's quite clever. London Underground signage is some of the cleverest design in the world, because most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time, they take you the long way around so that there's less crowds on the platform at any one time when a train comes in. And it's little facts like that that just make me think. I mean, I already think the London Underground is the best example of mass transit in a big city that's been around for a long time. And that sounds very elongated, but I don't think London Underground is the best example of mass transit. I think there are much better examples out there in the big wide world. I think the New York City subway is a good example of proper dense mass transit, and the best example is Moscow, because they have the Victoria line at the moment has the highest frequency of trains, but Moscow, in Britain has the highest number of trains. Moscow is the highest in the world, I believe. There's a train every inconceivable number of seconds. They're that fast. And it's really well run. Very old as well, which I think it kind of fits in with that category I was just saying about best example of old style as well, because there are some stations on the Moscow network that have been around for a long time. What was I saying? London Underground. It's a good example of a well, I think it is the best example of a mass transit network that has been around for a long time that works. Essentially, everything on the London Underground works, and works well. There are times where there are cancellations or delays or strikes, and it can seem like the end of the world. But when you think about how long London Underground has existed and how sort of frequent trains run and things like that, it's a cascading effect. If a train's cancelled, which never happens on the Underground, if a train's delayed, that's the better way of saying it. If a train is delayed on London Underground, it can have huge cascading effects, because that's how close the trains are run together. That's why there's lots of stop times, like trains tick over for a long time at certain stations, because they are waiting so that there's no sort of big block build-up kind of thing. Where am I going with this? There's a method behind the madness, I promise you. But yeah, I just think London Underground is the best example of its kind. That's probably the easiest way, the most diplomatic way for me to say it. There are better underground systems in the world. There are newer underground systems in the world, and it's no coincidence that some of the newer ones also happen to be the better ones. That's just the way the world works. But London, we still are very competitive. Very competitive. I know some people that would definitely contest about how good London Underground is. And I also know some people that would contest about how bad London Underground is, but that's another story for another time, I would say. It does upset me though. I think we as Britons, we forget how lucky we are at times. So when like this train strikes and there's all kinds of horrible stuff that goes on a lot of the time, and there are lots of people that just, it's almost like it's their job to just complain about everything. And it does upset me, because there are a lot of people who put a lot of hard work into making London Underground work and the railway network work. And I've said this before about sometimes if a train's cancelled or if a train is delayed, it is not the fault of the company that owns the train that's delayed. It's the fault of another company that owns the train that's caused the delay. So, in other words, a train somewhere else in the country has broken down. I always use the South Coast lines as an example of this, because there are multiple operators that operate on those lines. So Brighton is a good example. Brighton is operated by Southern and Thameslink. And I think Great Western Railway sometimes runs some services from there as well. I wouldn't know. It's not really an area of the country that I'm that familiar with, unfortunately. But what I do know is, yes, Southern and Thameslink are both Cavier. Yes, Cavier are bad. Not all bad. They do some good things as well. They also run London Midland, and from my experiences, at least with London Midland, I've always had good journeys with them. But I know that some people would say that they're bad right across the board. But again, that's personal opinion. But let's say a Southern train breaks down, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the Thameslink trains, but because there's a Southern train broken down in front of them, they can't go anywhere. Southern then have to come out and say, you know, our train's been cancelled. They can't really say blame Thameslink. Sorry, Thameslink have to come out and say a train's cancelled. They can't really say blame Southern, because that's poor form. They also can't say it's not our fault. That's one of the reasons why they don't really give information, or that much information, when a train's cancelled. They just say the train is cancelled. It's sort of ungentlemanly for them to say, you know, it's their fault, because you just wouldn't do it. You wouldn't like it if a company did that to you, so you shouldn't do it to other companies. So all they can say is the train is cancelled. Some people want to know why. They can't be told why. diplomatically they can't be told why. So they get very annoyed and they start blaming Thameslink, and they start saying Thameslink is a rubbish railway and things like that. It's not necessarily Thameslink's fault. It's just a rather unfortunate incident that's happened that, you know, they can't necessarily tell you. I always find that sort of... I keep going to say the word upsetting, but I'm not losing sleep at night over it or anything like that, so I really don't find it upsetting, but I always find it quite annoying that we as Britons, we do forget how fortunate we are at times with the fact that we have the railway system that we have. Because there are loads of countries out there in the world that don't have what we have, and would love to have what we have, and probably hate the fact that we always complain about what we have, because in their eyes, and in my eyes as well, to be fair, we have nothing to complain about. We are very, very fortunate to be in the position that we are in. It's one of the reasons I'm proud to be British, is because I know that we are not the best, necessarily, but that's what makes us great. It puts the great in Great Britain, the fact that we are full of flaws. I do like the fact that the British rail system, as weird as this might sound, the fact that it is as old as it is, like the West Coast Main Line was always a good example. People were always complaining about the West Coast Main Line upgrades and how long they took, but we were taking a railway that was built over 100 years ago and bringing it up to the standard so that it could cope with 21st century demand. Not many places do that. If you look at China, China have just opened a whole new series of high-speed lines. I think their high-speed network is something like 2,000 kilometers, which is a ridiculous distance. When you start working in megameters, you know that you've got a vast network. But they've opened this new high-speed network. But if you actually look at the Chinese high-speed network, how much of it is built on viaducts? There's nothing necessarily wrong with it. High-speed 1 does have a series of viaducts as well. The Medway viaduct is the main one, but we kind of need that because it's a river. You can't just, you know, you can't build a flat crossing over a river. But the number of high-speed lines in China that are built like hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, all on these raised viaducts, in a way, it's quite ugly. In a respectful way, it's quite ugly. I would prefer the old Victorian style of going through well, not mountains, we don't have mountains in England, but going through hills rather than over the top of them. That kind of thing. I always think that that makes for a better railway, scenic-wise. Yes, tunnels themselves aren't that scenic, but going through the hills and all the scenery that comes with it. I just think hundreds and hundreds of miles of just concrete viaduct, isn't that pretty? But they have got a very good high-speed network. And actually, with high-speed 2 around the corner, I wouldn't mind if we got some of the high-speed builders in China over here to give us some advice. I have been reading in my magazine that high-speed 2 is pretty much good to go. Like phase 1, they've pretty much signed off on it. I think it's just a case of dotting the I's and crossing the T's now, which I think is fantastic news. Yes, there are always going to be people that protest it, but I think most of the people that were protesting it are now, again, I've got to choose my words very carefully here, fixated, let's say, on the whole Brexit kind of thing, where all the money that was promised for the levers, where all that's gone, because it certainly hasn't gone to the places where they said it would go. Again, Britain, we don't know how lucky we are with our health service and everything like that. You don't know what you've got till it's gone, unfortunately, and that certainly seems to be the case for the majority of the population of Britain right now. I've built this wrong. There we go. Right, so we've nearly finished this line. Once we finish this line, we'll plan out the routes. I think the other line, I might extend it off camera. I'm stuck in two minds about it right now. I'm also stuck in two minds about this, because that is too close to the other station. I don't mind closeness, but that's too close. Alright, tunnel, tunnel. station here, like this. Tunnel under here, we'll have another station here. So I'll end up building a new town or a bus stop or something. And then big tunnel under these depots and this industry. So this is probably going to be the largest gap between stations on this route. The other one is probably going to be over at GSG. There's quite a large gap between stations as the tracks go under GSG. It's one of those things. I had that with not there, with Stratford on the DLR. If you go between Stratford and Stratford International, there's a really long tunnel section. But if you actually look on a map, you are literally just going underneath Westfield, and that's it. Like, there's no sort of big secret or anything that you're going under. It's not like you're going on a 6-mile trek or anything like that. You are literally just going underneath the shopping centre, and then you emerge back on the other side. It's one of the most pointless things ever, is that extension. I don't really know why it was built. I know it was to do with the Olympics, but in my head it just does not make sense. Like, why did they do that? It just sort of, it felt like they built it for the sake of building it. There was no practical purpose behind it. They just built a station. Right. Like, they could have both met at Stratford, and that'd be it. Because Stratford and Stratford International are walking distance apart. You literally just walk through the shopping centre and you're there. So I don't really know why they had to build that little extension. I don't know. It doesn't save you any time. That's the thing. Right. So now it's just a case of connecting this line to this line, or this line to that line. I'm going to put a station there, and then I'm going to put this diagonally across like this, and then I'm going to put this one diagonally across like this, and then I'm just going to connect, whoops, not there, this one and this one, and that should be the whole line done. Now I can grab this and signal and signal. Perfect. Right, metal roof and benches. Let's build this station first, shall we? Let's build them in order. This one, and then this one. And then this one. Connect with the southern line. Again, I need to come up with names for all these main lines as well. All these names. I might put a new tab in the ideas list for names. Names. They're all names. Dumbass. I might put a new tab in the names list for routes, so people can name routes or come up with names of routes, and then I'll build the route with that name. That'll probably work out quite well, because I know that the northwest trunk route was named by George de Silva, I believe it was, and there are other routes that I could do with input with what to name them, so that would be greatly appreciated. I have just opened up the names list. I normally check it on my phone, which is how I know when people have and haven't been updating it. I've just opened it up on my laptop, so we'll have a look. There have been some new town names, I think, have appeared in recent times. A couple. I see Gert is very active. That's what I like to see. Nothing in railway station. Bus stop. Again, not very busy. Hover Place, St George Hover Place. I do like that one. I think we will do that. I think we have hovercraft operating already in Gardcity, but I would actually prefer to get rid of those existing ones, or reusing them. Hang on, let me explain this properly, because it's going to sound really stupid otherwise. I would like to build kind of like the Isle of Wight to Portsmouth hovercraft service, something like that within Gardcity, so it will run across the bay between two different places. I would quite like to do that. I think that would be quite cool, because then it gives it a purpose. Like the actual hover place would serve a purpose. It's a fast way of getting across the bay. It's not just hovercraft for the sake of hovercraft kind of thing. My voice is starting to go. I've been talking for 2 hours, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that don't like the fact that I've been talking for 2 hours. I do apologise. We're nearly done. We're kind of on the home stretch now. I'm going to finish this line, and then I think we're going to build the other line, the little extension, and then we're going to plan out the 2 lines, and then I think we'll be done. Because we will have to redo the number of trains on the new extension as well. As I say, nearly done. That connects to that, connects to that. This one here is part of the station above it. Now we do have a service that connects up Slenston with Carnwell, but it's the Kisses that use it, and they don't all stop there. Some do, some don't. So I do like the idea of having the HLR connect the two up. This is my version of Stratford International and Stratford, I suppose, thinking about it. And there was me criticising it, but I'm kind of doing the same thing here. The only reason it's different for me personally is because, let's get rid of that signal as well, there isn't another HLR station at either of these two places. So they are still independent enough for that. Right, we'll go with the old style crossover here. Okay, now we do need somewhere for the depot to be. Do we have room at the other end of the line? I will have to quickly double check where that is. Over this way, isn't it? Yeah. At Renston. Do we have room for a depot here? I think we do, you know. If I turn that into a path signal and then lift all this up. Whoops. Lift all this up. There we go. We got room for a depot here. Kind of like this. Here, if I build a line going down like this, how did I build it over? Where is it? This one. Yeah, it's kind of staggered. So this one over here will have to be staggered as well. Where is it? I'm getting lost. Just think, with all these towns and stuff, with all those lines serving them, it's all going to be like dense suburban areas soon. You won't know where Gardcity ends and the towns begin, which is kind of cool. I kind of like that. That's what it's all about, really. There we go. 1, 2, 3. We'll do them 4 long. Actually, what would make more sense is if I had this one come off of here like this. There we go. And then it's only this one that's a slightly different length. Right, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like that, and then this comes in like this. And then comes in like this. Meanwhile, this one comes in like this. Like that, and then demolish this quickly and go 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Right, now we've got to put the fixtures, this one, like that, and here we will do this. Like that. Okay, we are nearly done. We are so close to the end. So I check I did signal this properly. Yes. At least it certainly looks like I did. Okay. Now I'm going to unpause the game really quickly. I'm going to do this, this, and this. Because we're going to get a whole new load of trains. So hopefully in the time it takes me to build all this, this new extension, the old ones will have gone to the depot. Alright, so this one goes over to Kenville. So over here we're going to build a whole new section here. I'm just going to raise it up pretty much its entire length. Here we'll let it drop down. This is going to kind of be the last little bit towards Beckton, where it's pretty much a straight line. The only thing we're not building is the U shape that actually comes in and out of Beckton. That's a bit overkill for this. Right, this is all going to be raised as well, like that. Is there another station over here? There is. So just inside this bit here, we're literally going to follow this line. All the way along its length until we get towards Shoreham Junction, and then we're going to diverge and head up this way. So here we're going to go raised along like this, and at the end of the station here we're going to dip down. I will map out the bridges in a second. There will be a lot of bridges, new viaduct type bridges as well, not the oldie style. Right, so here is a forced viaduct. I'm going to use the new viaducts. Look at that. They're really smart. I do like those. They fit the theme quite nicely. There we go, along like this and along like this. Okay, get rid of this. This is built quite a ways outside the town that it's supposed to serve, which is quite funny. Okay, and here it's going to come up like this. So this is the diverging point. So we're going to do it in typical HLR style. It's going to lift up. Like this. Go around like this. And is then going to bridge over. Again, using the newer. In fact, should I use tubular? No. Oh, I like that style. Yeah, we'll use that style. It's quite smart. And then it's going to run again in HLR style. It's going to go like this. I keep going to pause the game because it does make it lag a little when I'm building, but I can't because I do want those HLR trains to go back into the depot. But there you go. That's a proper HLR way of bridging a track. And I just love the fact that I can only build it like that on the HLR. Anywhere else on the network it would not work. Just makes me love my HLR even more so. Including this little section here I'm about to build, because I'm sure we're going to get some tight turns and sharp gradients here as well. There we go. Station here, and then we're going to lift up one into a tunnel, which is going to take us to this side of the refinery, like that and like that. and then over here we're going to have a little S-bend, something like that. Yeah, that looks good. And then here we're going to have like this. They should line up quite nicely, and then we're going to do some demolition work here actually, because I would quite like to build a station in this gap. In fact, if I build the station this side of the tunnel here, so I need to get rid of that as well. There we go. Tunnel, tunnel. Connect this one up, connect this one up. Connect this and this. And build that in like that and that in like that. That's the extension done, I believe. It is. Awesome. Right, signal it. So I do need to do a little bit of work here, getting rid of that bit and that bit, which does mean let me see. I might come back to this bit in a second actually. I'll let this finish first. Let these trains go away first. So if I do that and that, actually this can be rebuilt as well now, thinking about it. So I will have to come back to this definitely, because that is going to be the new bridge. So that goes like that, and then that one there, and then this one here and this one here, and then this is where we can do the old control trick, which I think everyone knows by now. It's not really a magic trick anymore like it used to be. I remember the first day I found that out, it was another game changer. There's me talking about game changers before, that was definitely one. Finding out what control did. Right, signal there, and we're going to redo this bit. I think we're going to redo a lot of this section actually, because we do want the bridges. So if we have a station here, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll have this bit as flat still, but if we have another station here, and then all of this to there will be a bridge. We'll do the old new style viaduct again. Okay, and then if we have a station there, should we have one this side of the water? I think we should. So then all of this will be a bridge as well. In fact, I can move it a couple of tiles further this way by removing that and doing this. Oops. It's one of these things, the game's starting to lag a little bit. I've found some ways around it. When you've got a lot of trains in a small space, that does cause a bit of a lag. And there are other things. I think I've still got some breathing space in cargo dist, so I can change how often that updates, and that should ease the lag a little bit as well, which would be nice. Right, station will be somewhere on this level. I haven't fully decided where yet. And then all of this section here up to this point will just be on the level, and then this section here will all be a bridge, and a big bridge too. There we are. And then I think the rest we can just build on the level again. So with that in mind, from here all the way to the end, like that and like that. And that should give us even spacing. Not so much here. I could remove that signal, and that will give us room for a station. And then over this side it is all even anyway. Right. I do need the Japanese platforms again. Like so. And then build this here. I do like the fact this is also going to be a nice quick way of getting people into the city as well. So as they get closer to the city, these trains, the overground trains, will get more and more packed. But once they get to somewhere like this, you hop off the overground train, you hop on the HLR train, which is always going to be faster, and it will take you into the city, which is exactly where you want to be. So it's always going to be a beneficial way of getting in and out of the city, which is fantastic. It's about keeping people moving. That's one of the focuses that we're going to have for the next few videos, is keeping people moving. Now this depot is going to be built slightly differently to the others, I would say, in that here we're going to have a line that goes across like this. Like that. And like that. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then this one's going to come across like this. Actually, again, I think here we'll have it's slightly. It's kind of a lazy way of me building this now, but I mean, it's not that bad, is it? Could be worse. Like that, and then you connect to that, you connect to that, and then here we can go. Come on, there we go. See, I mean, a little bit of lag there. 1, 2, 3, and this is this depot built. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 there. Now we go down to fixtures. We'll pop this in, and then we'll go back and we'll do the rest of the stations, heading back up towards Gardcity. Japanese platforms. This one, 2. Right. So if I come all the way over here, 1, 2, and 3. And then we kind of want 1 probably here. They're going to be a little bit spread out at this point, because there's no... I mean, we've got the viaducts in place as if there's a huge urban sprawl, but it's not that spread out really. So I think that is a good spread of stations. Like 2 or 3 between each overground connection would work out quite nicely. Like this. And I will put these ones in because I did create the space for them. We might build a town down there that would link up anyway. And then here we'll go like this. And I think I might build one here as well, just because we have got some space for it. Like so. We'll have one here. And I think we'll have one on this side of the tracks as well. If I move this signal back a tile. We can put it just before it snakes over the tracks. Now some of these stations I might not build a town near them straight away. I might sort of leave it for a little bit. Ones like this one, I might see if Shoreham does actually spread out a little bit more first, because if that ends up serving it, then we don't need to make a huge fuss then, do we? But there we go. That is the Shoreham extension completed. Alright, now we have still got some trains running in. Just trying to think, other metro lines. I still feel like there's some more metro lines that we should build. We don't really have one that comes out and just down south this way. There's a lot of towns down here that it could link up to. So I might look into that. The problem would be where exactly to build it. Maybe if it branched off here, but then it's got to avoid this set of tunnels here. So it would have to probably go up on an embankment over the top, which could work. It could work, but it would then have to dive back down underground again before it reaches the overground loop. But then you could have a connecting station here, and then if it comes out a little bit further, you've got the whole HLR here that you could connect to as well. So that could work out quite well. We'll have to wait and see, really. What I do know is this core section of HLR is going to be very, very busy with the number of trains running on it. Very busy indeed. But I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a really cool challenge. Right, how many more trains are we waiting for? Pretty much all of them, from what I can tell. Yeah, pretty much all of them. So I might as well pause the game really quickly and actually go and buy the new trains and map them out. So let's come all the way over this end first. Oh, we do need to connect this up now. Thinking about it. Go with the modern suspension because I think that does look really nice, bridging that gap. Right, I am actually going to signal these both in this direction for now, just so that these trains don't try and continue on. It will force them to turn around. I'm not sure whether that was just the one station I happened to be working on at the time, but it did seem to be a bit of a bug where trains would just continue going straight on, even when they were supposed to terminate and turn around, which was a little bit annoying. What trains were these? Ret Type M MG2. Ret Type M MG2. Is it this one? We have now got the Type 3. Sorry, the Type R. Top speed of that one is 63. Top speed of that one's 63. Oh, we got the futuristic Metro, which is just 3 units long. Top speed of that is 75. Or there's these ones. We kind of want one. Oh, that's got a huge. Oh, that's why. So it's got a huge capacity, but it's 6 units long. That could work for maybe. Whoops. Did not want to do that. That could work maybe for the future. I do kind of like having the 3 units in one. So I think we might just stick with what we've got. The MG2. Should I go with it? I might go with this one actually. What colour can I make it? Arnet or silver green? That could work for the new HLR. We got trains of all different colours. That could work out. In fact, this one I might make it this colour. And then if we drag that in and then drag that in, we get a nice interesting livery, which I quite like. So I think we're going to keep that. You are going to did I change you to a path signal? If I didn't, I did now. I think we'll just have that as a normal signal. Do I need a waypoint? I suppose I should put one in, really. Just there. Likewise at the other side, which was... where's Renston? All the way over here. Oh, interesting. Where can I put a waypoint here? If I take this back a little bit and take this back a little bit, we'll go dumph dumph, and then build that along like this, and then build this one along like this, and connect that and that like that, and then put the signals back in, and then the waypoint can go there. We're not worrying about that end right now, we're worrying about this end. So here, 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 there isn't one there, here, and then on top of this one, this. You are service, you are no loading, you are no loading, no unloading. Okay. And then it's just along here, like this. Again, a lot of these are going to be needing to be renamed once we're able to. Passengers are going to love this service. It's going to be so much quicker to get in and out of town. Even if it does take a bit of a roundabout route at times. Because the speed pretty much all the way down this line is going to be 50 miles an hour, which is the same as it is currently. In fact, these can go faster. I think these can go 60. So I might have the speed limit as 60. So you'd really shoot across the city then. It'd be a hell of a lot quicker to get across. Because you can either get on Centre Rail, which is 30 miles an hour from St Mark to St George, or you can get on this, which is 60 miles an hour. Yes, it stops at more stations, but I think overall it is still faster, which would make a huge difference. Unless of course you're stuck behind a train in front, then it could get a bit of a pain, but there's only one way to find out if that's going to happen. Might need to rename some of these ones as well. Pier 12, Pier 39, and then we carry on this way. Halliday Circus, GSG, which might get moved in the future. I'm tempted to move this GSG station this way so that this becomes a straight line, and add some more terminating platforms here at GSG, because there are a lot of trains that are stuck waiting a lot of the time. And it does mess up some of the timetables, so I might do that just to increase capacity slightly. We'll have to wait and see. It does mean moving this station across as well. This is definitely the biggest gap between two stations on the whole line. Here and maybe over at Shoreham as well, as it goes right the way under the throat of GSG. Now this river, I do want to come along this way, and connect up with the waterway over there, and then have another one that branches off up this way. In fact, maybe even connects up with this, and then have this one connect with this one, which then also comes up and connects up with this as well. These are all future plans that I'm talking about. There's no guarantee as to when they will happen, but I would like them to happen at some point in the future. Just don't know when. Right, and Leyhill. Done. Okay. Stop times 250. Apart from here, where it's going to be 1,500 because we want to keep people moving. At Kenville Woods, it's going to be 1,000. At, do you know what, I might as well do this 2,500. At Lay Hill, it's also going to be 1,000. There. And then right the way down here at the woods again, it's going to be 750. Right, speed limit is going to be 60 throughout, except right at the start here where it's going to be 30 into Kenville Woods. And then at Lay Hill here, it's also going to be 30. And then right the way down here again, Kenville Woods, it's going to be 30. And here it's going to be 30 and 20 autofill. And we'll get that properly finished in just a second. Now if we come not over this one but over to Renston, right the way over here, and we'll set up this one. So I've already started to forget what train it was that we had. It was the 1/2, wasn't it? This one, with a top speed of 63. Right, train 521 is going to be the silver green livery. So this is how you know what line they are. So this one is white. I mean, that's technically blue. White, blue, white, and blue, white, blue. And that's how we're going to know which line each train is on. That should be a clever little way, novel little way of just being able to see. Right, that, that, and that. Service, no loading, no unloading, you, no loading. And then we plan out the route again. I feel like this one's got slightly bigger gaps between some of the stations. Not that I'm too fussed about that at this point, because it is quite quiet. And it's not like there's that many connection points either. I do like the way this one sort of snakes its way through this almost like parkland here, and then it goes through quite a busy area again here. And then once it gets up the top of the hill, it sort of goes back into parkland again. I do like that. That's something that I wish I could build in more detail in these cities, is some green areas. So something else I like about London is London has more green areas than, I'll try and remember what the fact was. I'm not quite sure it was the most in the world, but it was certainly up there. It's got more than New York. Everyone goes, what about Central Park? But actually, I think they said Central Park is smaller than Hyde Park. So that gives you an idea as to why we don't count Central Park or New York. But London definitely has one of the it's got more green space than most cities in the world, if not all of the cities in the world. It's quite a nice little thing to be proud of as well. Got a nice connection here with the boats as well, the little hydrofoils that scoot across the bay. I think Gardcity would be a really nice city to live in. Just an assumption, could be wrong. But it just feels like one of those cities where you wake up, look out of the window in the morning and just be happy that you're living here. I mean, yes, every now and then a bulldozer might come and knock your house down, but what replaces it is always for the benefit of everybody. Which might sound a little bit, you'd have to be quite a selfless person to be able to live with that. I I imagine if you're quite self-centered, then that would not be ideal. But you know, people have lost their houses whilst this has been constructed, but they've received a brand new transport link, so they bought a house in the country as compensation for losing their house in the city, and because of the really good transport link, they're just as far away from the city time-wise as they were before they were kicked out of their house. So it's not all bad. At least that's how I'm going to sell it. I'll have to jazz it up a little bit, give it a nice catchy slogan. Making Gardcity great again. That'll trick 'em. It's worked once before. Anyway, let's not talk about politics. That's not a happy topic. This area as well. This is kind of like the Parkway line of the HLR. If they were given line names, that would definitely be what this one gets. And even here, I just love the way it connects up all these little districts and all these main lines as well. Like even here, connecting up with the South Bank line and the Rindingwell line, I want to say. Was it that one? Do you know what? I can't remember now. I think it was. I'm going to have to start writing all these down. I will have to start compiling the list for Reedy soon. So we'll find out then. I like to count the stations on these lines too. Especially the HLR. I imagine there's loads of stations on the HLR. Right. 250. Here is 2,500. Here is 1,000. Right the way down at Slenston is also 1,000. This is a good connection. You've got a connection with the main line here into St Michael. You've also got the connection to all of the overground lines. I think there's 3 or 4 overground lines that come through here as well. It's a really good place to have a connection. What was the time I chose at the end here? 750. Good. Just checking, because you never know. Change speed limit 60 all the way, apart from here where it drops to 30. 30 and 20. I don't have a speed limit here. That's a point. Although I didn't in the last one either, did I? Oh, I missed it. Where's... there it is. So it's just from here through the tunnel is 30. And then all the way up here, 30. Right. Somewhere down here is the HLR. There it is. So it's not from Shoreham Junction anymore. It's now from Kenville. Just Kenville. So this we're going to rename Ken. And then this one is Renston Interchange. So HLR EMU WRI Renston Interchange to Slenston. You are 6 tiles long. Right, ungrouped trains. You are Ken. You are not. Okay, now we got to choose the number of trains. This one only needs 26, but I'm going to round it up to 27. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This one I believe was 33. Yeah, but I'm going to round it up to 34. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I overbought. Only by 1. There we go. So there should be 34 trains here. Yes, there is. Okay, right then guys, that does it for this episode. I'm going to unpause the game. I was going to scoot over, but I might as well do it this way. Just to watch all of these trains come into their depot so I can sell them all as they all arrive. I will keep this depot here just for now, because I think it is kind of like a nice focal point to have. It won't be operational, but we will just have it sit here because it's not really hurting anyone. I'm also tempted to turn this junction here into a three-way so that we could perhaps have trains running from Slenston to was it Ken? It wasn't Kenwood? Can't be Kenwood. Kenville. Kenville, yeah. I might do that. And then likewise, over here, I might also make this a triangular junction. And then we can have trains that go, I don't know. We'll have to see about that one. But that will do it for this episode. I will cut this episode up probably into 3 parts actually, so it might stretch over into next week. Yeah, it probably will stretch over to next week. So I'll have to start working on next Friday, or this Friday for you guys, this Friday's episode. So that's going to be fun, having to do that and cut it all up and whatnot, but I'll do it. It's no problem. But yeah, that will do it for this episode, guys. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the episode, and of course if you're enjoying the series. Don't forget to drop some comments down below with ideas for future episodes, and also go over to the naming list because we need some names for future episodes. Again, the only reason I'm not renaming stuff at the moment is because there are no names to use. So be sure to rename them if you can, or give the naming ideas if you can. Apart from that, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, I will see you soon.